It's the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you, as always, by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We have hit the All-Star break, a time when everyone takes a deep breath, looks at the baseball season, which is basically almost 100 games old. So it's not like it's the middle of the season. It's way past the middle of the season. When you come back, you're in a sprint. You deal with the trading deadline at the end of the month, and then 2 hard months, the dog days of August, September, and away we go. And there's a lot of teams live for the wild card. Let's begin with the Yankees, who, after the month they've had, were looking to do good things in Baltimore. Step 1, bingo. Step 2, bingo. Step 3, they're trailing, and Rice, who had been in a little slump, comes up with another big hit, a 3-run homer in the ninth that gives them a 2-run lead, and they are going to sweep the struggling Orioles, who are crawling into the All-Star break, who had been swept by the Cubs, who look like they're going to be swept by the Yankees. The Yankees are going to slide into first place. This is going to be pretty, and they're going to wash away a lot of the bad feelings that have been carried along in the last 30 games. And instead, they suffer a terrible loss. And the culprits are 2 of the guys who have let them down offensively and don't usually let them down defensively, namely Volpe, who blows a ground ball, and then Verdugo, who has played an excellent outfield, who goes the wrong way on the Mullins line drive. It goes over his head, and the Orioles have a come-from-behind victory that leaves them in first place, breaks their losing streak, allows all those Orioles to go to the All-Star game feeling better about themselves. And I think part of their problem this week was a lot of these Orioles were going to the All-Star game, a lot of them for the first time, and you know what? And a whole bunch of them are going, and I think that may have gotten their eye off the ball last week. It happens. They're young. They're going through this, some of them for the first time. But the bottom line is the Yankees were right there to really wipe away a lot of the bad stuff that had gone on. They were about to sweep them, and then they suffer another gut punch, and this was a tough one. Now, hey, they're right there. The Orioles are 58-38. The Yankees are 58-40. It's going to be a race to the finish. We'll see who adds what going forward. But it still was a ugly, terrible loss, considering what went on in the top of the ninth inning with Rice's heroics. Really a tough loss. With the ground ball, a ball that Volpe gobbles up 99 times out of 100. So Verdugo and Volpe have been 2 of the real culprits on offense. They've been terrible. They have to be better in the second half. The Yankees can't add enough to change things in the second half. They're not going to bring in guys who are going to overwhelm this team. Okay, you'd like to see them bring in a late inning person for either the 8th or the 9th inning who is a swing and miss guy. The Yankees need a late inning swing and miss guy. That's not cheap, but the Yankees have stuff in the farm system that they can trade. And I'm not talking about giving away, Dominguez and Spencer Jones. I'm talking about they have other things they can give away. And can they get their hands on, I'm not expecting to get Miller, but can they get themselves somebody who can help? That's the most likely place they get help. Could they use a corner infielder with some versatility? Yes. I like McNeil's bat. I don't think he's coming here. But, again, that's the idea of a guy who I think could really pick it up for them in the second half. They need a reliever. They're not going to get a starter who's probably going to bump any of their starting pitches, but their starting pitches need to be better. Cole's going to be better because he's going to be more like himself. Heel looks like he's come out of that terrible slump. But Stroman, you got to be better. And Stroman's got to be better at home. He's given up 13 of his 15 home runs at Yankee Stadium. I told you all along he's not a Yankee Stadium pitcher because he gives up a lot of fly balls. Those fly balls go out of Yankee Stadium, especially in right field. He's got a 4.59 ERA at home, a 2.50 ERA on the road. Now, flip that with Cortez. He's got a great ERA at home and a terrible one on the road. So Stroman's got to be better at home. Cortez has got to be better on the road, and Rodon's got to be better in the first inning. That's what they need out of all those guys. But they need guys they're not going to replace. Verdugo, Volpe, Torres. They need them to be better in the second half. They need to get Stanton back because Stanton, although he's not a guy who's going to give you a high on base or high average, he's going to give you power that is game-breaking power, game-changing power. The Yankees, after you get by the big two, they have a bunch of 600 OPS guys. They have no one else in the lineup other than Judge and Soto who are above 307 as an on-base. That's it. That's awful. And they don't have a guy on the team. Now, they do if you have Stanton in the lineup. Otherwise, they don't have a guy on the team who has even a 700 OPS. Some teams have 6 or 7. They have none other than Judge and Soto. So the fall off from Judge and Soto is so dramatic, it has really hurt the Yankees. Now, Rice has given them a big lift. He was coming out of a slump. I mean, he went into a slump after the last big hit, but he got a big hit yesterday after going basically 1 for 24 or something like that. You know what it is? They were throwing him a steady diet of curveballs, and he wasn't hitting the curveball. Now he's going to have to prove that he can hit the Uncle Charlie, otherwise it's all he's going to see. And a lot of guys can hit dead red, and they find out can't hit the breaking ball, and they're going to see breaking balls their whole life. We'll see how he adjusts that way. But that was a terrible loss, but they did win a series. They won Friday. They won Saturday. So in their minds, they stopped the bleeding. We'll see if they did after the break because they're coming off a terrible loss. Now, the Mets could have made it something special if they had swept the Rockies. But you can't be upset with what they did this week. They swept the Nationals. They won 2 out of 3 against the Rockies. They're 3 games over 500. If I had told you when the Mets were mired 11 games under 500 that they finished the first half or gone to the break, it's not the first half. They've played 95 games. But if I had told you they were going to be 3 games over 500, you would have said, what are you drinking? I never thought they'd be there now. They did it with a dynamic lineup. They see us coming in and going crazy. With Alvarez coming off the injury and playing great. With Vientos showing them all-star power. To go with Martinez, who's cooled. To go with Lindor, who actually has come back strong enough to where he could have been on the all-star team. I mean, he's second in the league in extra base hits. Guy's got 28 doubles and 17 homers. Alonso, everyone doesn't like his year, but he's got 19 home runs. And he hasn't had a hot streak in a while. Is he going to be traded? We'll see. Is he going to Houston? Is he going to Chicago? I don't know. We'll see. He might. But the Mets have a lineup. The Mets, the way they use starting pitchers, you're not going to go out and pay a lot for one. But they need an infusion. And I don't mean one body. I mean an infusion of bullpen talent. Their bullpen stinks, and they're in it every single day. The Met bullpen gives up multiple runs every single day. It can't continue. They might be able to squeeze 4 and 5 innings out of their starters, okay? They need bullpen help on top of bullpen help on top of bullpen help. That's it. Can they stay in this thing? Yeah, they can. Right now, they're a game up on the 3rd wild card slot. So if the season ended today, which obviously is a statement that people love to make, the Mets are in the postseason. which would make this a very different year if that happens. They are a game ahead of Arizona. They are a game ahead of San Diego. They are a game and a half ahead of Pittsburgh. They are 3 games ahead of the Reds and the Giants. They're 3.5 ahead of the surging Cubs. So if you look and leave Atlanta out of it, St. Louis, the Mets in, Arizona, San Diego, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, San Francisco, Chicago, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams for 2 spots. 4 games separating 8 teams in the National League. That can change in a week. That's what they want. They want everybody in it so that the big cities don't go completely NFL after Labor Day. So the Mets have a reason for this season. They have something to play for. Now, we know if you've looked at the schedule ahead, the Mets are going to spend August on the road. Now, part of that has to do with tennis, but they didn't get a favorable schedule as far as August goes, and they have 2 West Coast trips. So they got a tough road to home in August. So we'll see how they come out of the dog days. And that's when bullpens get really tired, and their bullpen is past tired. Their bullpen is waving a white flag. Because whatever game you talk about, their bullpen has allowed runs. There's rarely a day. Yesterday it was Hauser giving up a couple of homers. After the starter had given up 4 homers. Every day, somebody's in that pen getting lit up. And, that's the way it is. You can't be in that pen every single minute of every day for 5 and 6 innings, but the Mets are. And you're asking guys to do it on a regular basis, to pitch a lot of innings. And, rarely do they get a good day. I mean, Saturday was that rare day when, Budo pitched really well and had a bunch of strikeouts, and then Nunez pitched really well. They actually got 4 innings of really good relief pitching that day. But those days have been few and far between, even against a bad team like the Rockies. So you know that you're going to be looking, but you're going to be dealing with a lot of teams that are looking for relief pitching. I mean, a lot of teams that are in it, there's not that many teams that are out of it, confirmed out of it, maybe 8 or 9. And you can't be in that pen every day. And, when you are, and you're giving up home runs, and you give, Friday night they gave up a couple of homers. Yesterday they gave up a couple of homers. I mean, they need help. How much help? You wait and see. New faces sometimes work in the bullpen. You don't know which guy's going to work, which guy's not. Obviously, if you can get somebody who's really good, that helps a lot. But the Mets have to go shopping, and they have to go shopping in that bullpen in a big, big way if they want this to have a happy ending. That's all there is to it. Now, it's a slow week for sports. We know that. All right? The All-Star game might not be a cup of tea. Maybe it is. Maybe you go gaga for the home run derby tonight. And the All-Star game doesn't thrill me at all. I mean, if I'm home, I'd watch Skeens pitch early in the game to see how he does. But the game doesn't excite me. So it's Friday before baseball gets going again. And the Yankees will be home against the Rays. The Mets will be on the road against the Marlins. This week, British Open, the final major. Now, I'm not the biggest British Open fan. I don't love the British Open, but I watch it. I like it. I mean, it's a major. And these days, when you get everybody together, it helps. So the old course at Troon, that's where the British Open is this year, starting on Thursday. Rory came out of hibernation in the tune-up, finished, I think, third or fourth. Right now, the favorite, as always, Scotty Scheffler, 5-1. Rory is 7-1. They figure he's looking for vindication. Hey, when he's standing over a big putt on Sunday, let's see what happens. Then you have Schauffele and Ludwig at 12-1. And you have Morikawa, Bryson DeChambeau at 16-1. You have Rahm at 22-1. How about Rahm as a really forgotten guy this year? Took all the money, the big money, to go to live. Okay. You know that you can't pass up whatever he got, whatever the real money was, if it was $600 million or $575 million, some absurd amount of money. But he has not played good golf this year. He missed the U.S. Open because of a foot injury. He has not played well. He does not seem happy, even though his bank account has exploded. But there's a forgotten guy in Rahm at 22-1. Koepka 40-1. So your favorites, Scheffler, 5-1, expected. You know he'll play well. Rory, you would expect he's going to play well over there, 7-1. Schauffele and Oberg are 12-1, and then Morikawa and DeChambeau at 16. Sprinkle in the other guys. Victor Hovland at 30-1, Tommy Fleetwood at 30-1, Cameron Smith at 45-1, Lowry at 45-1, Cantley 45-1, Finau, Thigala, who seems to play well every week now. So the last major, here we go, with Scheffler as a 5-1 favorite starting Thursday. The old course at Troon. Later in the week, we'll do a preview, give you some thoughts on who we like. So I got to do some digging in to think about it. I always, I got to look and frequent myself with exactly what that course offers versus others. Obviously, you're playing such a different game over there on any of those courses. And, wind and rain is going to play a factor. That's part of it. It's been so hot here and there. It's going to be chilly. It is. They'll have sweaters on, and the wind will be blowing one day, and that will affect everything dramatically. You have to create a lot of crazy shots around that course. So you need an imagination. But one thing is that week after week, whenever, and he's coming off his little vacation now, but Scheffler's always there. And he has been by miles the best player in the world this year. Remember, as we get closer and closer to college football and to training camps, check out the Bet Rivers app for all of your advanced stuff, over-unders, win totals, conference championships, league championships, whatever you're looking for. Who's going to the Super Bowl, the whole deal. So football will be here before you know it. Right around the corner. Another football season. Can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm looking forward to it. I really am looking forward to this. I think the football season is going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting in New York. I think the Jets are going to be fascinating. Can't wait to see this thing unfold. So be here before you know it, right around the corner. But check out the Bet Rivers app for all of your wagering needs and for everything they have. They always got some goodies for you, so check it out. Go to the Bet Rivers app for all of your wagering needs this summer or into the fall. We'll have a preview of the British Open in a couple of days. It's supposed to be extremely hot. Now, I like the hot weather. I always have. All right, I've always been a sun person. I love the sun. I try, I used to get very tan every summer. I still get tan because I'm on the golf course, but I try not to be in the sun. I try consciously not to be in the sun when I'm not playing golf. Like, I don't go sit in the sun anymore and read like I used to. I give up, those concessions because the skin doctor's always like, you can't do that, you can't do that. So, and use sun protection, please. Put on your stuff, and, no matter what, kind of skin you are, or what kind of nationality you have, or anything else, just, because a lot of people say, oh, I just tan, I don't burn. Hey, everybody burns. Okay, and the sun can cause problems for anybody. So just, use the right stuff when you go out. I'd be remiss not to at least make a comment about had a horse race at Saratoga Saturday. I wasn't up there. Reynolds Channel, who, we've been frustrated by his development because we know he had a lot of talent. He finally ran up to his standards, and he'll come back on Travis Day in the probably in the Jerkins, in a grade one in the Jerkins at 7 furlongs for 3-year-olds on Travis Day, the 24th of August. He won at Saratoga Saturday, but that race had just finished, and I was sitting in my office. I had played golf; it was hot as blazes. And my wife called me and said, turn on the news. And I had, like 5 minutes before, had been when this whole thing happened with Trump. And I saw the replay of it, and you're like, wow. I mean, talk about being fortunate. Talk about, for the grace of God, because, I mean, that thing whizzed by his head and obviously nipped his ear. Maybe we're all guilty, all of us who like politics. And I don't know what has caused the country to be so incredibly divided the last, I want to say even pre-Trump. I want to say since about 2010, but really since 2016, that one side has zero tolerance for the other. Zero. Doesn't want to hear it. Doesn't believe anything the other side says. One side has no respect for the other, has no respect for the other's argument. And it's reached epic proportions. And then this happens. Now, if you are a student of history, you know presidents, ex-presidents, presidents, those running for president, when they are presidents, people who are in those positions have to be protected because we have watched many political leaders be struck down. I was a little boy in third grade. Might have been in second, but I think I was in third when JFK happened. I was home from school that day. I've made that comment very often because I was home. And my mother just went to the store. And I was in the house by myself for a couple minutes because she said just went to the store for just a couple minutes. And I remember I couldn't wait for her to come home because I was scared because I watched on TV as the bulletin came on. I was watching the show, and the bulletin came on that the president had been shot. And then I remember being in grammar school, and I was on the bus stop. When I heard about Bobby Kennedy being shot, I didn't realize that morning when I woke up that he had been shot in the middle of the night until I got to the bus stop and everyone was talking about it. Obviously, JFK, Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, Reagan. Reagan, as we learned, really never recovered completely from his wounds. We weren't aware of that. They did a good job of covering it up, but he had a very good group around him. And, I mean, he was really seriously injured. Shots fired at Ford, remember that? I mean, Squeaky Fromm, go back, We've gone through this political assassinations, are part of our history, yes, but when they happen, they are so shocking. And this really, as it unfolded and you saw it so clearly on television, and you see these photos like the Times photographer who got obviously a photo that will live in history, that actually shows the flight of a bullet in the photo, which is amazing that it could capture that. I don't know anything about photography, but I mean, that is remarkable. It's remarkable that he wasn't badly hurt or killed. Yes, there's questions to be answered, and you're never going to convince an ardent Trump supporter who thinks this was some conspiracy, because there's a good group of people who think everything's a conspiracy. Nothing happens by chance. There are no lone, unhappy, or deranged gunmen. Everything is a conspiracy. So you're not going to convince anyone of that. So don't try, because you're just not going to. We don't know yet exactly what happened. Was this a kid who was bullied, who took his father's gun and just was striking out in rage because he was in so much pain? I don't know. Why did they not have someone stationed on a roof that was only 500 feet from the stage? Doesn't make any sense. Could the sniper have taken the gunman out before he fired a shot? Sure looks and sounds like he could have. He was told not to. Why? So there are all these questions that have to be answered. But the thing that is obviously so paramount and most important is that Trump survived. By the grace of God, he survived. And he's okay. And he's in Milwaukee now getting ready for the Republican convention. But we need to we know the stakes for both sides and what both sides feel the stakes are in this presidential election. But we need leadership that somehow gets us back on a path of some kind of civility. We have to be able to argue, to disagree, and not be looking to destroy the other point of view to the point where you destroy the person who has the other point of view. That's what we're supposed to be all about. And there's a lot of things in this country now that have you shaking your head. And it's a time when we need someone to step up, and hopefully the guys who are running, who are not young men. So with that, hopefully comes a decorum and a wisdom that allows them to at least provide the leadership that this country needs. And that's for both sides. And if one guy's not capable mentally to run, well, he should pass the torch. He knows whether he is or not. The people around him know whether he is or not. So whatever side you're for, there has to be a civility and a rationality that goes with this somewhere along the line. I don't know where. That's been lost somewhere along. It's been lost years ago, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And I can tell you right now, there's nobody listening right now who ever has a political conversation with anybody who hasn't had it get out of hand in recent years, or have someone get mad or leave because they were angry at a family function or a party because their point of view wasn't being accepted. It's gotten crazy. Is that why we wind up with things like the other day? I don't know. I don't know if that was just a young guy who had had a really tough life, who had been bullied, and who was just using his rage in a way that somehow seemed acceptable to him, or seemed the thing he needed to do to show everyone what he was about. I don't know. I don't know what was in his head. I don't know if he was affiliated with some group or influenced by somebody else, or he was just in that much pain and that much anguish. I don't know. But hopefully we'll be smart enough to wait for some answers and somehow get back on a page where we can disagree and do it in a way that makes the country seem like it still remembers what it's about. Because otherwise, I don't know where we're headed, but it's not any place we want to go. We'll see you later.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.